Hey guys, it is NCSFan001 here for another Destiny cookbook recipe. I believe we're on like episode 10 now. Today's recipe is herbed potato stacks. I got a little fancy with this side dish, but the presentation does wonders for the dinner table. I like to think it represents the tower standing over the last city it protects. The layers on layers house all the work involved in keeping hope alive. That may sound a little silly, but presentation is important. I mean, technically you do eat with your eyes first, so that's not entirely wrong. This is an easy difficulty recipe that takes 30 minutes of prep and 40 to 50 minutes of cooking. It yields 12 servings, which is kind of a lot, and it is vegan, which is good for those of you who are healthier than I am. You're going to need only a few ingredients: 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 fresh rosemary sprigs with the leaves removed and from the stem and chopped, 2 fresh thyme sprigs that have been chopped, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of pepper, approximately 2 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes with the skin left on and cut into approximately 1/8 inch slices, which is probably like a couple millimeters for those of you in other countries. You're going to need some orange and lime rosemary salt, which was made in the very first episode, and you're going to need a tablespoon of chopped chives. I do apologize for my appearance because I got my hair cut at a different Great Clips, and I think they did a pretty crappy job. So, for our first step, we are going to preheat the oven to 375 degrees, which is currently going on, so that'll take a few minutes. So that will allow us to get our first main step done. So for our first step, we have to combine the rosemary, the thyme, the salt, the pepper, and the olive oil into a large bowl. So on here is the thyme that has been chopped up. I'm not particularly familiar with thyme as an herb or a spice. It's not one that I've used constantly or anything. I am a fan of rosemary though, which is this. Hope you guys can see it. Like I said, I'm still working out camera setups for this new place, so it might take a while to get it all perfected. We're going to save the chives for later. Those are actually chives from my garden, so I will chop them up a little bit later. So now we need 2 teaspoons each of salt and pepper. Now, if you're wondering why I have a gigantic band-aid on my finger, it's because I was using my grater to slice the potatoes, and it ended very badly. We'll be doing that again. So we'll go ahead and get the pepper. Ooh, that's a little bit too much pepper. Shake it off to right here. That'll be fine if it gets on the chives. So we need 1 teaspoon. Two teaspoons of pepper. Then we're going to need 2 teaspoons of salt. Again, just let that drop down on there. A little extra salt and pepper doesn't hurt anything usually. And it's also not going in the bowl, and I'll wash this off afterwards. So, okay, that's our salt and pepper. And then we need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. That's a good bit of oil. Oh, this hasn't been right. This is a brand new bottle. Splashed on me a little bit. 1 tablespoon. I know I'm going to like this recipe, but I certainly didn't get 2 pounds of potatoes. I've got probably more like 1 pound because that's a lot of servings and I'm only cooking for me. So that's going to be my side dish pretty much for the rest of the week. So now we have to toss in the potato slices and coat them in this mixture. We'll see if I can actually do this without being too terrible at it. Feels like a real restaurant in here. Actually, that is working great. I can tell just from looking at it, it looks like they are getting well coated. Okay, I gotta admit, that looks pretty good. I know you guys can't see it from there, but this looks pretty good right now. So now, we need to prep a muffin tin with non-stick spray. Unfortunately, I only have 2 muffin tins, and this one is the better one, even though it might be a little bit big. But that's okay. So now we're going to stack these in each of these little tray sections until they reach somewhere close to the top. Like I said, I don't need a whole lot of potato for this because I'm only making this for one person. So it's not entirely a necessity to have like 2 whole pounds of potatoes unless you were prepping this for a whole bunch of people. But I have a feeling this is going to be very good because I love potatoes. Anything to do with potatoes, I am usually a big fan. Got some herbs on that one. Okay, so that 5th one is a little bit underfilled, but that is okay. So once we have our potato slices in here and stacked up, we're supposed to sprinkle the tops with the orange and lime rosemary salt. It doesn't say exactly how much, no it does not. But we're just going to want to sprinkle them with some of this. So this might be a little bit old by this point for one, and more importantly, I don't know if I made it completely right, because maybe it might be the only time I've ever used it, so I'm going to use a good bit of it just so we make sure we get the flavor in there. I think I made this around the time I had the virus that can't be named on YouTube. Okay, so now once the oven has reached 375 degrees, we will stick these in there for 40 to 50 minutes, during which time I will chop the chives for the final step, and yeah, that's basically all we can do for the moment. Alright guys, the potatoes cooked for about 45 minutes, and they are looking pretty good. Now this thing did say that you should turn the boiler on high and cook for 1 to 2 minutes to give the tops a little more crispiness. Then we remove from the oven, let them rest for up to 3 minutes, and then we have to top them with chives, and then they are ready to eat. I'm actually going to leave them in this pan and just put them in the fridge so I can eat them over the next couple of days. So let's add some chives from my home plant garden, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's technically only one plant, even though I have a garden in. Sorry about that, I didn't actually turn the timer off. But these are looking pretty solid. I mean, it's basically like baked potato, but more fancy. So presumably it should be pretty good. I don't really know how that orange and lime rosemary salt is going to be with it though. That seems like a kind of an odd choice. Alright guys, I'm going to give one of these stacks a try. That's very good. I mean, it's not really all that crispy, so maybe you need a little more time. But the flavor is fantastic. I love the flavor on these. I'm actually getting just that little bit of a hint of the orange and lime rosemary part. But these are very, very good. Like I said, maybe they would have been better if they were a little bit crispier, more like, you know, chips than just slices of potato. But that is great. That is absolutely something I would make again. And I highly recommend you guys check this one out. So thank you guys for watching the video. Please like, favorite, share, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell if you haven't already. This is yet another success from the Destiny Cookbook. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and see you for the next one.